What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Primetime Sports Podcast, hosted by Joey May. So today is the fifth day in a row I've had a guest on the podcast. I'm very lucky. I'm honored to be joined by a good friend of mine, Christian Koutsoubis. He's a diehard New York Knicks, New York Yankees, and New York Giants super fan. Great to have him on today. He's been on the podcast a few times before. First time probably in a couple years, and obviously you're on at a good time with the New York Knicks in the NBA Finals. How are you doing today, Christian?
I'm good, Joey. Thank you so much for having me. I think the last time I was on, we were talking like Chiefs Super Bowl or something like that a couple of years ago. So I'm happy to be back on the podcast. Got a big day tonight, Game 5, NBA Finals. So it's going to be a good day.
Absolutely. It's obviously a beautiful day here in Boston. We're outside sitting on a bench in a park. Beautiful, 85 degrees. You might hear some birds chirping, people walking by, but it's a beautiful day. Great day to be outside and talk some sports. Like you mentioned, the last time you were on was February 2024, Chiefs Super Bowl versus the Eagles we were talking.
Yeah,
and now obviously it's a much different circumstance. You got the New York Knicks in the NBA Finals. Before the playoffs began, how much faith did you have in the Knicks to get back to the NBA Finals for the first time since 1999?
This season, obviously, as a fan of a team, you always kind of have hope in the back of your head. But, realistically, I think when I was going into these playoffs, we had 53 wins this year, played fine, played well, had more wins than last year under Mike Brown. But you look at those teams in the West, the Spurs and the Thunder, I probably didn't think we had any kind of legitimate shot of winning a title. Also, even look at the East, the Celtics, I thought we were going to play them in the second round if we barely even got past the Hawks. They were up 2-1 on us. Now, obviously, ever since then, it's been a crazy run for the Knicks. But I thought we'd run into the Celtics and that would be a tough out. But they got beat by the Sixers. Then we went on that run, swept them, swept the Cavs, who I also thought would be kind of a tough matchup, and kind of just crushed them in 4. So, I would say going into the playoffs probably didn't have too much faith, but as we kind of saw this streak form, I would say maybe I first kind of really started believing halfway through that Philly series when we had those few blowouts against Atlanta and Philly. I was like, all right, team's coming together. Cat started playing more that point center kind of position, started dishing the ball more than he had. He's been really efficient, and I feel like the team's kind of really just come together. So it's a really exciting time. Obviously, we were down in New York City last weekend, and the city's buzzing for sure this time of year. So it's been really cool.
Yeah, Keith McPherson made that same point yesterday in the podcast. It's a beautiful time in sports, especially for New York, when you got the Yankees playing the best ball in the AL, even with Aaron Judge being hurt. They won 4 in a row before yesterday. I don't know how they did last night, but before yesterday...
They actually lost to the Blue Jays
They lost
last
to the Blue
night.
Jays. Okay, so they had a 4-game win streak, even without Judge at one point. Knicks, obviously, in the NBA Finals. The Giants have a lot of buzz around them, obviously, with John Harbaugh now. So it's a good time for New York sports. You got the World Cup as well, games being played at MetLife Stadium. I know they've changed the name of some of these places, but they call it New York Stadium, I think.
New York, New Jersey Stadium.
Yeah, New York, New Jersey Stadium. It's a great name. But you're right, though. This Knicks team, something just flipped in the middle of the playoffs. When they were down 2-1 to Atlanta, they were a much different team, and then something changed. What would you say was the main factor to them flipping a switch? Was it Karl-Anthony Towns playing that point forward and kind of dragging the defense out so that way it opens up the paint?
I think that was a big piece. We've lessened it a little bit in these last 2 series just because the Cavs and the Spurs just have their big men that kind of clog up more lanes, unlike the 76ers and the Hawks. But I would say, that point center kind of position for Cat really is what started it. And another thing, you look at the Knicks last year compared to this year, I think going into the playoffs, we were just so gassed. We had all of our starters, maybe besides Cat, were in the top 10 in minutes played during the regular season. I think Bridges and Hart were both in the top 3 last year. So those guys, I think, just when we got to that Pacers series, going to game 3, 4, 5 of that series, just got gassed. And I think since they played less minutes this year, they were all feeling good, feeling healthy. Brunson was able to move more kind of without the ball. I feel like last year he plays his ISO ball, and he's a closer. And he did it the other day. He does it all the time, and you want him having the ball in those big moments. But during most of the game, I think we've done a good job at making him be able to move without the ball a little bit, create open shots for himself. And I think the team just has a cohesiveness I haven't really seen. Our 3 starters went to Villanova together. They have a good rapport. I think they've been together a few years now. Feel bad for my boy Dante DiVincenzo, though. He can't be part of the squad. I saw he was in New York the other day with his boot on. I think he wants to be with the boys, but miss him. but I just think they're coming together at the right time and they're playing for each other. And there's really no like big head, big ego guys on the team. And we saw our boy OG break out the other day too. He's been an absolute stud. I think he's shooting over like 55% in the whole playoffs as a 3-and-D guy, averaging 24 in the finals. I mean, it's pretty special to see.
Anunoby has been terrific, truly. And that was my guy actually before the finals began. He was my MVP pick. I don't know if it was more of me believing in OG or my sister just talking him up so much. I'm like, you know what, maybe he will be the MVP. But I just had a feeling he would be an X factor for the Knicks in this series because he is a great 3-and-D guy. He's also been on a team that's won an NBA Finals. No, he was hurt in Toronto when they won, but he was on a team that was good enough to compete for an NBA Finals that ended up winning. So he knows what it's like, obviously, getting there, being part of something special. And he's been there a few years now, too.
Do you think he learned a lot from Kawhi? I know you're a big Kawhi fan as you're a Clippers fan. Do you think he cut? Because I feel like his game is kind of similar to Kawhi's. So do you think he probably learned a bunch from him?
I would agree, yes. I definitely do think he learned from Kawhi. And Kawhi, I think, is an all-time great, especially in the playoffs. Kawhi always does elevate. I know he's had his injury issues in recent years in the playoffs, but Kawhi Leonard, when you watch him play, he's special. OG Anunoby, this playoff run, he's had a lot of special moments. And he's really cementing himself in Knicks history. Like, should the Knicks win one of the next 3 games, whether it's tonight, Tuesday, next Friday, hopefully, for your sake and the Knicks' sake, they take care of it tonight and just get it over with. But if you do win one of these next 3 games, Anunoby is really cementing himself as an all-time Knick. Not because, points-wise, he's not going to be in the all-time Knicks, category of one of the best scorers of all-time Knicks history. It's just clutch performances, stepping up when they needed him to. He's becoming a real playoff riser for them, and that's what Kawhi Leonard was over the course of his career in San Antonio, in Toronto. He was able to elevate in the playoffs, and that leads me to my next question, and it's a really hot topic right now. I know Brunson still leads the Knicks in scoring. He has taken a lot more shots, so his efficiency isn't as great as OG Anunoby. Who would you pick should the Knicks win, which obviously I know it's not over yet. We were talking about that on the walk over here. You still want them to win a game, so we're not going to say it's all over. But should the Knicks win one of the next 3, who do you think should be the Finals MVP?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Obviously, Brunson's leading the team in scoring. He was a little inefficient the first 3 games. Kind of put it all together last game. Closed for us hugely. But I think if OG has a solid game in Game 5, I would give the MVP to him personally, just because of what he's given you on the offensive side, those clutch moments at the end of the last game, and also on the defensive side. He can guard anybody on the floor from 1 to 5, De'Aaron Fox to Wemby to any other wings. He can kind of guard anybody, and he's just been so dominant. He's so cool, calm, collected, plays for the team, and he's averaging over 24 points a game in the finals, playing amazing defense. I think if he has a solid game, I would give it to him, and I don't think you're having, not that it was an issue, but look at the Celtics a few years ago. Jalen Brown won the MVP over Jason Tatum, right? I think Jason Tatum was a little upset about that, even though they won. Like, I don't think this Knicks team is kind of like that. I think, like Brunson or Cat, if they don't win it, they're going to be happy for their boy. They won the chip, and I don't think you have like egos like that on this team. So I think if it went to OG, the whole team would be pumped for him.
Yeah, and he's really stepped up, and it's a guy that's deserving of it. Brunson could get it as well, and I think either way.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if Brunson got it either. If he leads the team in scoring tonight and they win, he'll have led the team in scoring, closed Game 1, won them the game, had the winning shot in Game 2, the winning free throw. So I wouldn't be shocked if they gave it to him either, but I would like to see OG get it.
Yeah, and he's deserving of it for sure. And talk to me about Brunson. He's a guy, obviously, I've critiqued in the past, maybe even back in 2024, and I had you on the podcast about the Super Bowl. I do remember talking Knicks at that point, and I think I mentioned Brunson I didn't see as a 1A first option on a championship team. At the end of the day, he's proven me wrong in that regard. The last couple of years, he's really stepped up in the playoffs, even battling injuries last year. They beat the Celtics. I know the Celtics had their fair share of injuries, but the Knicks did win a playoff series against the Celtics last year when a lot of people didn't give them a chance. And then this year, I counted them out against Atlanta. My prediction with Atlanta winning that series doesn't look too bad now because Atlanta did give the Knicks the best playoff series so far.
They have the most wins against us this playoffs.
They do. They get 2. So somehow, some way. But I did critique Jalen Brunson in the past. Obviously, he has proven me wrong in that regard. What have you seen from Jalen Brunson over the last few years that really makes you believe that obviously he is a playoff riser? Right now you see him stepping up in big moments. But where do you think he ranks in all-time Knicks legends? Which obviously I think I can compare him to one guy of recent years, Carmelo Anthony. Do you have him higher in the Knicks' all-time greatness as Carmelo Anthony, considering his now playoff success with the Knicks over the last couple of years?
Well, I'll answer that question first. I don't even think it's close. I think he's way better than Melo in Knicks history. Obviously, Melo's an amazing scorer, but I think he won one playoff series with us in all his time in New York. Brunson's made the playoffs with the Knicks in 4 straight years, won at least one playoff series in 4 straight years, Eastern Conference Finals last year, Finals this year. If they win it all, I would put him probably top 3 Knick, I think, all time, if they win it all.
Pretty big time, and that'd be their first championship, obviously, since 1973. Yeah. First time getting back there since 1999. They had a few, runs in between that, 73 and 99. I think they lost in 1994, but it is a special run they've had. And I think with the Knicks' history, too, there are a lot of all-time greats. But to get the Knicks their first championship since 1973, should the Knicks win, this year, which I don't want to jinx anything. I know it's 3-1. I do think the Knicks probably take care of business tonight. But in the event they do take care of business in the next couple games, whatever it may be, I do agree with you. I do think he's an all-time great Knick. And even if that's only, one championship run, it's still one championship run that they haven't had since 1973.
Exactly. It's been a rough past 20 or so years as I've been a Knicks fan. There's been some tough dark years. So it's not like we have too many recent players off memory besides Melo. But yeah, in my opinion, I think you got Clyde, you got Patrick Ewing. Patrick Ewing never got that ring. Should have probably had it in 94. He never got a ring, and then maybe Willis Reed too. So maybe top 4-ish, but I don't really care about ranking them. I mean, you're one of the greatest Knicks of all time. He kind of brought them from the depths of hell, basically back to relevancy. Like the New York Knicks were the biggest joke in the NBA. Like the Nets took all the boys, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, James Harden. Everyone thought the Knicks were going to get them, and no one wanted to come to New York and play for the Knicks. And Julius Randle was the first one who kind of changed that in that trade. But then once Brunson came over, he really brought them back. And back to your question before, kind of about what he's shown and what kind of shifted. I mean, even though obviously he's showing everybody right now that he's a stud, he's a closer, even though he's not the biggest guy, he's always been a winner. He won 2 championships at Villanova. He was the College Player of the Year in, I think, the 2018 championship that they won. So even though obviously he was a second-round pick and never was a super high recruit for the NBA draft, he's always been a winner, and I think he always knows that and believes in himself. So he's kind of showing more of the masses as they made it this deep playoff run that's kind of just who he is. I think more people are just seeing it now. So at the end of the day, I don't think I've seen in interviews from him, he doesn't really care about being called one of the all-time greats or anything like that. He took his pay cut, and I think he just wants to win. So that's kind of what I admire about him.
Mm-hmm. And hard work, grit, toughness. He kind of embodies that New York City feel, right? Which that's what Keith McPherson talked about yesterday on my podcast. He said there's something about this Knicks team that people in the city can relate to.
Kind of embodies the stereotypical New Yorker, puts his head down, goes to work, and doesn't complain. And I think that's pretty cool.
And he was counted out, obviously, probably his whole career at this point, because when he first signed that deal with the Knicks, that 4-year, $100 million deal, everyone on ESPN was saying it was the worst contract, and why'd you overpay him?
All these guys now are loving him. I saw a compilation. Even Stephen A. Every single one of them was making fun of Brunson, saying he's too small. What are you paying him $100 million for? Because I feel like what's her name's getting the most heat. That said he can't be the Spurs. Becky Hammond.
Yeah, Becky Hammond. Yeah.
Yeah, she's getting the most heat for it. But I feel everyone was saying it. It wasn't just her. Everyone, no one thought he'd be what he is. And I admit I didn't either. It's hard to see. It's hard to have seen that and kind of what he's turned into. It's pretty amazing. Yeah,
it's been a special run. And I look back at some of my takes on him, and I always look back and I am honest about it when I am wrong. Because at the end of the day, when you're having so many takes, some are going to be right, some are going to be wrong. That's just the way things go. But he has been special, obviously, and he has been counted out. And I think, like you said, in the all-time greats list, he's up there because if you bring home their first championship since 1973, you deserve to be in there in the same class as Ewing, Walt Frazier, which I think is another guy that's definitely in that class. And same thing, I think Melo's still an all-time great of the Knicks, but if you don't get yourself a championship, and you bring them the first one back since 1973, especially winning in the fashion the Knicks have, where it's been such a dominant run for them, right? They had 13 wins in a row at one point. This is really such a special year. So that's why I do think he is an all-time great. And that leads me to my next question. Obviously, they just had a big-time win in Game 4. That's an all-time win right there. Would you consider that the greatest win, not just in postseason history in the NBA, just NBA history, regular season, postseason, NBA Finals?
I feel like it's up there for sure. I think it might have to be, just because you come back from 29 down in the finals. I saw a lot of people comparing it to 28-3, which is very relevant being here in Boston. I know you're not a Patriots fan, but all those guys around here remember that. But yeah, that was one of the all-time great comebacks I've ever seen. I'm a little bit of a pessimistic fan as I'm watching a game. I think it's more of a reverse jinx kind of thing. If I say we're going to lose, maybe we'll come back and win. But if I'm being honest, I didn't think there was much chance we'd come back. I saw some stat. It said down 20 points in the last 2 playoffs, we're 5-3. The rest of the league is 4 and over 70 losses.
I think it was 472,
yeah,
something like that.
Which is insane. But it really does show this team never quits. So that's why I had maybe 1% of me said, all right. I'll ask you, was there one moment kind of in the game where you thought, oh, they actually could win this game? Was there like one shot, or you just believed kind of the whole time? Because I know you always think in today's NBA anyone can come back.
Yeah, just because you watch so many games over the course of the year, regular season even, and there's teams that come back down 15 every night. I think the turning point for me genuinely was when the Knicks cut it from double digits to single digit. They got it down to like 9. Then the Spurs got it back to 11 maybe once or twice. And then the Knicks got it down to like 5. And then Mitch Johnson calls his first timeout, or maybe the second timeout he used all the second half.
He was holding on to 4.
I don't know why he did that. Like, if I was an NBA coach, I would use so many more timeouts. And I understand you want some late in games, but there's a benefit to calling them and kind of breaking up a team's momentum and shifting gears.
Did the same thing with the Cavs. Same exact thing.
23-point comeback the Knicks had.
22 down in 7 minutes.
Yeah.
Yesterday was down 20 with like 9:30 left or something.
Yeah.
I
mean, it's a great question, though. I think it's tough to place it on one event, because I think we even texted about this, and you said it was just a gradual comeback. It wasn't like there was one shining moment where it was like, wow, they came back down 29. It was literally just like you're watching the game. Wow, they cut it to 18. They cut it to 15. They cut it to 12. They cut it to 11. Now it's back to 15. Now it's back to 18. Now it's back down to 10. Now it's 6. Like, I think it was just a gradual comeback. I think it's the best way to put it. I'd say that one moment for me, though, is cutting it to 15 before the fourth quarter. Yeah. Because if the Knicks have been able to make that up in the playoffs already. So I think that was the shining moment for me, being like, wow, it's back to 15 heading into the fourth. And the Spurs were not shooting well. They only scored 30 points in the second half. And you look at some of the stats, the box score, the Knicks outscored them 32-16 in the fourth quarter. So I think it was a gradual comeback. It's hard to place it on one event. Yeah. I will say this, though. Brunson had one shot, now that I think of it, and it was probably with 3 minutes to go, where it like clanked off the front of the rim and then somehow bounced off the front of the rim against the backboard and then in. And when that went in, it became like, I think it was a single-digit game at that point, probably like a 5-point game. I was like, wow, they're going to win this game. And I thought they'd come back. Genuinely, once ESPN always shows the no teams ever come back down 29 in the NBA Finals, there's always...
We've been seeing a lot of that for the Knicks these playoffs, and then they somehow do it.
They get counted out, and then they end up being the one team that's, in the win column when they're down 20-plus points in the fourth quarter. But what would you say?
I think for me, in the fourth quarter, they were down 15, and then Cat stuck with the ball, and then has a little step back 3 on the wing, makes it, cut it to 12. Right when he hit that, I said we're winning the game. I told my friend, I said we're winning this game, and then like you said, got it to single digits. And you know who played huge for us? Alvarado. And this was the first time I've seen in a while Mike Brown, which I think he did a much better job than the Spurs. I feel like he made changes kind of on the fly and did a really good job of making changes, looking at the flow of the game, which Mitch Johnson didn't really do. Brunson and Alvarado had not played together in a couple months, and having that second ball handler on the court to give Brunson a little bit of a break, not having to have a tough time getting up the floor 90 feet, allowed them to open up more space, and Alvarado had 2 or 3 huge shots in that fourth quarter that kept them in the game. So I give Alvarado, New York City guy, Brooklyn guy, and Mike Brown big props for that.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. I didn't even think about that. Genuinely, I didn't think about Alvarado bringing the ball up, and that's keeping some energy for Brunson, and then Brunson can just focus on attacking and getting shots up and still creating shots for other guys, but looking for himself as a primary option, because when Brunson is on the floor, you do want him to score. You don't want to have to tire him out bringing the ball up. And the Spurs defense, they just fell apart in that second half, right? They were playing great in the first half, and the Knicks were also missing shots. But
Wemby sat for 30 seconds that whole second half. He must have been gassed. With a 25-point lead, you got to sit him a little bit.
Yeah,
he just looked tired.
You do have to sit him, and you're right. Mitch Johnson didn't make any adjustments, and I texted you about that, and I texted our friend Zach as well. And I texted some other Knicks fans that I went to grad school with, and I said, Mike Brown has really out-coached Mitch Johnson. And 100%. Mitch Johnson, everyone's giving him slack right now, and I get why. It's NBA Finals.
He's a young coach.
Young coach, and he was a great coach in every playoff series but this one. Yeah. For the most part. They were down 1-0 to the Minnesota Timberwolves. They made adjustments. They won that series. They beat Oklahoma City in 7.
They could make adjustments tonight. You never know. But Mike Brown came from that Popovich tree too, so he's been around a while.
Yeah, and he obviously has some experience turning franchises around. He did that with Sacramento, gave them their first playoff berth, and it was around 2 decades. Now he's getting the Knicks back in the NBA Finals for the first time since '99. And he's a guy that's obviously been around the league. He's seen a lot. But I think this run he's having right now is so special when you win 13 games in a row. That doesn't happen every single year in the playoffs. Really, rarely. I think it was the last time that a team had that large of a winning streak in the NBA playoffs was Golden State back in 2016, if I remember right.
Not bad company.
It's pretty crazy that the Knicks have had that, dominant of a run. And
but yeah.
I do want to ask you one more question before we move on and talk about the Yankees.
Okay.
I know it's not the offseason yet, and there's still a lot that can happen now. You obviously want to take care of business tonight or Tuesday night, whatever it may be. You want to win the NBA Finals. But the Knicks do have some questions for the summer, what they want to do in free agency. There's a big one, which they have a few guys that are contributors. Landry Shamet and Jordan Clarkson are contributors. They're both free agents. But Mitchell Robinson, there's a big question mark about what his future holds. I know he's a guy that you are a big fan of. My sister's a big fan of. What do you hope happens there with Mitchell Robinson in free agency?
I mean, I hope we keep him. I love Mitch. He's our longest kind of tenured Knick. We drafted him a while ago. I know a lot of other teams are interested in him, though. So we will see. I think if we do lose him, it's important to get another center, just because when he's a little banged up or him and Cat are in foul trouble, we have to go to Ariel Hukporti, who hasn't really been the guy. We've kind of honestly been using OG as a third center over him, to be honest. So it's been tough because you love Mitch as a defensive guy, as a guy that gets rebounds. He can catch lobs. He's probably one of the best offensive rebounds in the league, but that free throw shooting is just tough to watch, and sometimes the Knicks just have to take him out of the game because other teams will just hack him and foul him and put him on the line. And he's been shooting, I think, under 30% this playoffs. So at the end of the day, I do want to keep him, though. I hope we do, but I know other teams will be interested in him, so we'll just have to see.
Yeah, he's a really good defender. I think he's probably the best defender on the floor. I said that last week when we were watching the game at Billy's after the Red Sox-Yankees game at Yankee Stadium. And in that last possession, they went to Wemby to try to potentially win the game. And obviously, at the end of the day, when you're going up against Mitchell Robinson, it's not an easy matchup. I do think he's the best defender on the floor when he's out there, and he's shown that. So there is value to keeping him in the Knicks lineup. And you're obviously hearing the wind here, you're hearing planes, you're hearing buses. You got a great city feel here, which is awesome. That's the beauty of doing an episode outside. It's a beautiful day here, as I've mentioned. But I do want to ask you one more question, just to go back about that comeback win. Last moments of that game, De'Aaron Fox gets a steal. Could have potentially maybe put the game away. Either way, the Knicks would have been down by 3 had he made that layup or had he made his 2 free throws. If he dribbled the ball up and then got fouled, if he made both, that would have been still a 3-point game. The Knicks could have tied it. But when you look back at that moment and that block by OG Anunoby, that was arguably, obviously, the tip-in's going to get all of the credit as, the winning play there. But I would say that block, considering you could foul him, he could have an and one there, and now it's a 4-point game. That block, I think, might have been the biggest moment of the game, more than the tip-in. The tip-in obviously wins you the game, but that block, that's a big-time risk because he's going up. De'Aaron Fox is a very fast player. He goes up, somehow gets that layup, and you foul him. Now it's a 4-point game, and the game's over. It took a lot of guts for Anunoby to get there, and that's De'Aaron Fox, one of the fastest players in the NBA. Yep. Talk to me about that moment, and what was it like watching that moment, obviously out with your friend who's also a Knicks fan?
Oh, I was going crazy, man. I mean, I think they're going to have to put statues of that block and that tip-in outside MSG. OG's going to never have to buy a beer in New York City again for his life. But, yeah, I was stunned. I mean, we took the lead. Then Josh Hart had a couple bonehead plays, misses a layup, and then he doesn't box out. So then they had a couple free throws to go back up 1. And then Brunson misses a shot there. Fox driving down the court. I was honestly, Hart was kind of racing. What you probably assume he's going to keep dribbling and you'll foul him, and then they'll get 2 free throws and you go up 3 there. But he put it up, and OG was sprinting down the court and blocked him. And then we're saying, oh, my God, the Knicks aren't calling timeout on the way back. And then, unfortunately, Alvarado almost had a backcourt, which would have lost us the game. But luckily, I think it's De'Aaron who fouled him, too, there. He did. So got to set a little play. Brunson took a quick shot, which is what the Spurs should have done, honestly, in Game 2. Should have taken De'Aaron probably should have taken that quick shot, give a chance for someone to get a rebound, like OG had there. And, yeah, that shot and that block will live in Knicks history forever. It's an exciting time in the city, and first championship since '73 on the horizon. So knock on wood. Hopefully, we'll see what happens tonight. Hope we close it in San Antonio.
wishing them all the best tonight. And you made a great point, obviously, about De'Aaron, and it's the little things that add up to wins. That moment there, like I know a lot of people are critiquing it. I understand why. I don't mind him going for the layup there for one reason.
Agree. You got to make it, though.
You have to make it. You have to be wide open, get that layup, because De'Aaron's also not the best free throw shooter, right? You put him at the line, there is a chance he goes 1 of 2, and it's a 2-point game. So I think he thought, let me get out ahead, try to get a layup. But it's just that mental mistake of thinking you had that much room on OG Anunoby, a guy that's a great athlete, and it was a major risk, a gamble, obviously, that didn't work out.
He could have missed those free throws, too. I mean, Wemby missed 2,
he did.
Which was, I think, he looked during those 2 shots like I've never seen him shoot free throws before. Like, I meant his form just looked different. He looked tight. I think everything just got in his head, and he's a young kid. I mean, obviously LeBron was like that in his first finals, but he looked very tight during those 2 free throws.
And Wemby's only 22. I mean, who knows if he'll get back? I think a lot of people have looked at this and said, well, he'll be back. But people have said that in recent years, right? Like,
True.
The Nuggets were supposed to have a dynasty. The Celtics were supposed to have a dynasty. The Thunder.
The Thunder were the dynasty forever, and now everyone's saying the same thing about the Spurs this year. So who knows? And
I think that's why the Knicks, I had a feeling they would win this series because everybody counted them out. Nobody gave the Knicks a chance. When the NBA Finals was on the horizon and the Knicks were already, up 4-0 and they were past Cleveland and people were just watching the Spurs play the Thunder for a great series that went to Game 7, everyone was saying, oh, it's the West in 4, West in 5. And I remember watching Game 7, maybe the day after, and I was like, for the West Conference Finals, watching that. And the next day I was like, I don't know, man. I got a feeling the Knicks are going to win this series. And I think, I'll be honest, I think if the Thunder were playing them, I think I would have probably said the Thunder just because SGA's been there. And for somehow, some way, he does step up in a lot of big moments. I know Game 7 didn't go his way, but SGA has stepped in big moments. I would never see SGA blowing a 29-point lead, but the Spurs, I could see just because they are so reliant on Wemby. And my friend Spencer made a great point in my office the other day, and you've met Spencer before. He knows basketball very well. He said the Spurs were so great in the regular season because they let guys like Cassell and Vassell and Fox and Champagnie kind of carry at points and let Wemby kind of just relax and weren't that reliant on Wemby. Now you see in the NBA Finals, they are so reliant on Wemby because De'Aaron hasn't been stepping up and they obviously were breaking a lot of shots in the second half. And Wemby was exhausted.
He only played a couple games in the regular season over 40 minutes. He never did. And he's played almost every single Finals game over 40 minutes. He's gassed. The guy's gassed. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, they have to rely on him. I saw Luke Cornett has an illness and he's questionable for tonight. So if they don't have him, I don't know what they're going to do. But Wemby's going to play 48. We'll see.
Could be Bismack Biyombo or Kelly Olynyk's time. Biyombo or Olynyk get themselves a chance in the NBA Finals. Could be Plumlee. Could be. They got a lot of veteran big men there. So they got some options. But we'll see what happens tonight. Obviously, wishing the Knicks all the best for you. My sister's obviously been rooting for them as well. So hoping they do well. What are your expectations, obviously, for them tonight? I know you just want to see them close and just, win. But what do you hope to see the Knicks address tonight in tonight's game?
I hope they start faster than they have the last few games. We've gone down double digits every single first quarter since the series started. So I think being able to go off to a faster start, don't go down a ton, don't make yourself have to claw back, get out to a big lead, or at least close game in the first half, where you can kind of not have to make that insane comeback again. So, yeah, but I think after every single game, reporters are asking them, and Brunson and all of the guys say it's 0-0. So I think they have the right mentality. It's just about executing.
Absolutely. It's a great point, obviously, starting out better. And now it's Game 5 on the road, but they've obviously won 2 games in San Antonio already. So, it has not been the toughest task. They were able to do it twice, so they could do it again tonight. Now that'll lead me to transitioning and talking about the New York Yankees. I know you're a big-time Yankees fan. They've had some recent news. Obviously, it wasn't fortunate. It's an unfortunate event when Aaron Judge misses any time. Now it's going to be an extended amount of time at least. There's some question marks about how long it'll be, but Aaron Judge will be out for some time. Who do you think is the most important Yankees player now? Could be a pitcher, could be a hitter, but who do you think is the most important player to kind of elevate the team now that Judge is out?
Ben Rice has been playing great, but I think the kind of every kind of person doing everything is like Cody Bellinger. I think he's a great defender. He needs to turn it up on offense a little bit. I think he's a guy that could expand the lineup a bunch, make other pitchers have to pitch around him a little bit, face other guys, which could potentially give other guys easier chances for hits and things like that. So Judge is obviously going to be out for a while, which isn't the best thing. But if Cody Bellinger steps up, him and Ben Rice got to be big in the middle of that lineup. Hopefully we get Stan back at some point. But you kind of just got to stay afloat for these next few months. The AL is pretty weak this year, so I think it's a good opportunity to do that. I know you're a Red Sox fan. Still have a chance at a wild card, but we'll see. I would say it's a mix between Cody Bellinger turning it up a little bit, and that pitching staff just has to be dominant. That starting rotation, which looks really good, especially when Max Fried is back. So those guys need to play how they're doing, and then maybe at the deadline, looking to maybe need some kind of reliever or two. So that's kind of what they got to do. Obviously, to end the catcher position. We had our first catcher have a hit since May 30th yesterday.
That's crazy. That's 2 weeks worth, basically.
Yeah.
Wow. 2 weeks without a hit from a catcher. That's crazy. So I know Wells has been struggling, and Escara has had his struggles as well. Who do you think the Yankees should go out and get at the deadline? I know you want a catcher. Is there a specific one you're looking at, or just hoping to just get a veteran catcher that can step in?
I mean, I think you just need a guy. I don't have any off the top of my head, kind of, but they're looking, I know, for a right-handed catcher. I wish we didn't go up Jose Trevino a couple years ago, because he was kind of that guy. He came up a little bit out of nowhere, was hitting the ball, played really good defense. Didn't have the best arm, but he was a really good framer and things like that. But Wells was the new up-and-coming lefty catcher who, honestly, was playing pretty well the past couple years. Really good on defense. Who just, I don't know. He hasn't had that bad this year. I think he's batting under 200. Trevino's batting under 200. Just kind of can't just have that hole. Obviously, you'd be fine if a catcher wasn't hitting the best, but really good on defense, batting, I don't know, 230. But it's just like there's a hole in these catchers' bats right now, and you kind of can't have that. So just got to go out and get kind of anybody that they think they can get production from the right-hand side.
Could go and get a guy like Salvador Perez. I know the Royals are not really necessarily selling. As of now, obviously no teams are selling because there's still a lot of time before the deadline, but that's a team that hasn't really performed as well as I thought they would. I know they're starting to figure things out a little bit, and the Central's kind of not a great division, so you're always alive in that division. But I do think, though, when I watch the Yankees play, I know obviously catchers a need, and then people say bullpen help could obviously help as well, just grabbing more relievers. And you did mention the starting rotation, and that'll bring me to my next question. I think this is a great one, honestly, because there's a debate because of how many good pitchers the Yankees have and how quality that rotation's been this year. If the Yankees started a playoff series today and every pitcher was healthy, hypothetically healthy, so you have Fried healthy, Max Fried, Garrett Cole, Cam Schlittler, Carlos Rodon, Ryan Weathers, Will Warren, like all of those guys have great potential and have shown a lot this year, especially the guys that have been healthy, who would be your starting rotation in a playoff series today, which all of those guys are, when they're at their best, we've seen Ryan Weathers be really good this year and Will Warren as well.
Yep.
But I'd imagine those guys probably more bullpen options here in the playoffs. But what would be your dream rotation here for the Yankees should a playoff series begin today?
I think you have to say Schlittler's the one right now. I think he starts game one of a playoff series, which was crazy to think at end of last year, even probably beginning of this year. But he's just excelled so much. He's probably the Cy Young favorite in the American League right now. Is he technically a rookie this year since he played half the year? Or
I think he's not. I think he exceeded his rookie limits last year, unfortunately.
So not going to get rookie of the year, but potentially a Cy Young, which is extremely impressive for a really young guy. He's consistently at 100. So I think he's the one. Probably Fried or Cole, flip-flop game 2 and 3. I'm fine either way. However, they're kind of pitching at the end of the year. And I don't think Cole will be upset that he's not the one. He knows he's coming back from Tommy John. He's getting a little older. But we still obviously need him to be himself, and I think he will be. So I would say those three guys will have 1, 2, and 3. Maybe in like the ALDS, you kind of just stay with 3 starters since it's a short series. But then probably if we get to the ALCS, maybe add Rodon as the 4th starter, who can also give you really good innings. So have them, and then probably Ryan Weathers and Will Warren in the pen, I'd say, would be kind of the route I think Boone would go. But I would take those first 4 starting pitchers against anybody, even the Dodgers. If you go starting pitchers to starting pitchers, obviously their lineup is a little more lethal than ours. But if you just go by starting pitchers, I don't think there's another starting 4 that's that much better than those 4.
Yeah, it's a dominant rotation, and that's why heading into the year, there's a lot of buzz about the Yankees because they're starting rotation. When you get Cole back healthy, it's like, wow, you have 2 or 3 legitimate aces, especially the way Schlittler was playing at the end of last year. People had high expectations for him. I don't know if anybody saw him be a Cy Young winner in year 2, but obviously he's showing the capability of being that. He legitimately could be.
I mean, the wild thing is he's pretty much only throwing fastballs too. Obviously his variations, he's his 4-seam, his sinker, and things like that. But he's throwing different cutter. He developed a cutter more this year. He has different variations of his fastball, but you kind of know what's coming. And we saw that against the Red Sox in the playoffs last year. They knew he was throwing a fastball. He threw 8 shutout innings and dominated them in the playoffs. So we've seen him with the big moments already. So I wouldn't be worried about him throwing game 1. He's been there already as a young guy. And we're sitting in his hometown right now. So I know he's not the biggest celebrity around here anymore, but
especially after he beat us in the playoffs, and obviously beat us last Sunday as well. Like, he performs well against the Sox when he plays us. But terrific player. I saw him play a lot over the years at Northeastern, so excited to see him doing well. And another local guy I want to mention is Ben Rice. You've already talked about him. He's been awesome for the Yankees this year. Showed a lot of promise last year, but was getting platooned even early this year against certain splits. I know he's a lefty hitter, so against left-handed pitching, he did sit some games. How much has Ben Rice's development surprised you over the last year? Now he's a legitimate MVP candidate this year.
Yeah, it's been crazy. We kind of knew him because our friend Ryan Byrne went to high school with him, so we knew of him, but never thought he'd be this good. So I knew last year, like, he was hitting the ball hard. His baseball savant page was looking good. He was always hitting the ball hard, getting a little unlucky. So you'd think long-term, hopefully that balances out. Not always, never always does. But this year, I think he put on some muscle, and we've just seen a different kind of level of confidence from him. I mean, he's absolutely mashing the baseball right now, and it's really cool to see. In the beginning of the year, Boone, like you said, was kind of platooning him against lefties, keeping him out of the lineup once in a while if you're facing a lefty starter. But now he's pretty much in the lineup every single night, whether it be as the DH or the first baseman. Because honestly, Paul Goldschmidt's been surprising. Even though he's pretty old, he's been giving us solid at-bats and playing a good first base. So I don't hate when when Goldschmidt's playing first and Rice DHs, obviously, as Stanton's out right now. But yeah, he's surprised everybody, and it's pretty cool to see him and Schlittler playing the way they are. I know 2 Massachusetts guys playing big for the New York Yankees is not something you always see.
Yeah, not what Red Sox fans want to see, I'll tell you that. One guy I want to mention is a guy you played against when you were younger, Anthony Volpe. And obviously he's been struggling the last couple of years. Obviously he grew up a Yankees fan, so playing for his team that he grew up a fan of is obviously special, and I think that creates pressure on himself as is. And then when you're stepping in, you're supposed to be the shortstop of the future, supposed to be the next Derek Jeter, and you're obviously a first-round pick. It puts a lot of pressure on you, and then you're struggling in New York, and you can never really find your footing. It's been tough for Volpe the last couple of years. That's my point. How concerned are you with Volpe's struggles, and do you think it's valid for the Yankees, if struggles were to continue over the next year or so, for them to potentially move on from him being the starting shortstop?
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think he's the guy. I think we've seen enough of Anthony Volpe, and I hate to say that because I was a big fan of him at first. And like you said, I played a few tournaments against him. He played down in Jersey, so I had a few tournaments against him. He was always a stud growing up, and he's shown flashes. He has some runs where he'll have a week or two hitting the ball really well. Even right when he came up this year, was hitting the ball well, helped us win a few games. But once you get into the drag of the season, it seems like he just gets a little overwhelmed. His shoulders slump. He's getting under everything, popping things up. And I just don't see him being the shortstop of the future. I mean, you can't. He played, I think, like 155 games last year, batted around 210, under a 300 on base percentage. I mean, you can't have that from your starting shortstop. We've seen too big a sample size, I think, and he has shown us a little bit of power, but I don't think we need that from our shortstop. He's a speed guy, get on base, steal bases. Like, that's what everyone expected from him. We don't need you hitting home runs, and I don't want to compare him to this guy because you love him, but I think maybe he needs a little bit of a Daniel Jones situation. Obviously, he's not the same player as Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is a solid quarterback in the NFL, but maybe just needs a little bit out of New York. Maybe he needs a new change of scenery, play for a little bit of a smaller market where he can excel, because for any player coming to be the shortstop of the New York Yankees after Derek Jeter won 5 championships and put up all the numbers that he did, and first ballot Hall of Famer, it's just not easy shoes to fill. And maybe he's a guy that just needs a little bit of a change of scenery, because we've seen the potential. It's just I don't know if it's going to happen in New York for him, at least at shortstop. And we have a guy in the minors, George Lombard, who I think could potentially be the shortstop for us in the future and has a little bit more promise than Volpe. So I wish the best for him. He's a really good kid. He always says the right things. I know Boone and management like him a lot, but at the end of the day, you got to produce, and he just hasn't in New York yet.
It's a tough place to win. It is. I've always said that. New York's a tough place to win because at the end of the day, the expectations are high, especially when you're a first-round pick. And like you said, he's supposed to be the shortstop of the future, which the Yankees had some stopgaps after Derek Jeter did retire. Didi Gregorius was good for some time. But after that, there was a rotation of guys at shortstop, right? And Volpe was supposed to be that next guy.
Yeah, Gleyber Torres a little bit, then moved him to second base. He honestly started hitting the ball better when he got to second base, which I thought maybe would be something they would do with Volpe, but obviously we still have Jazz there this year. But maybe just... I think when you don't have to think as much on defense, you might be able to just focus on your hitting a little more. So I think maybe that could be a potential option for him. One to maybe moving a second, putting a little pressure off him in the field, because he won a Gold Glove his first year, but you're seeing him make bad throws and kind of throw the ball around and botch some easy plays that you wouldn't have seen from him a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and I think Volpe's a great kid. You made a great point. That's why I do root for him. And winning in New York is tough. I've always made that an opinion of mine. I've always said that winning in New York is so hard, especially when the pressure is so big. And in New York sports, everyone's passionate. Fans want to win, and at the end of the day, results do matter. And Daniel Jones, fans ran out of town. I always kind of stuck with them. And at the end of the day, I always saw talent and saw promise and saw enough flashes to believe in them. And I know Volpe's shown some flashes, maybe not as many as Daniel Jones has, because Daniel Jones did, lead the Giants to a playoff win at one point. And he did.
And Volpe has a World Series Grand Slam in his arsenal. He does, even though we were down 3-0 at that point.
I forgot about that. He did.
Yeah,
he did.
He does have a big playoff moment, so give him that. Give him his flowers.
That's true. That's a valid point. And we'll have to see what the future holds for him. And I think Jazz Chisholm does have experience at shortstop. He's played second, short, center in his career, third base even, for some time with the Yankees. You can move him over to short if you wanted, flip it, go to Volpe at second, maybe platoons at second with somebody. You might make a trade at the deadline and go get somebody, and you have a new shortstop in that case. We'll see. The Yankees are in a win-now window, so you can't really let a guy just struggle and hit 210 in a playoff lineup, and we'll see, what the case may hold. But are there any teams you fear in the AL, or do you feel pretty good when the Yankees are at full health?
I feel pretty good, to be honest. I think the AL is a little light this year. We have the same record as the Rays right now, but I think they're playing a little better than they should. If you look kind of like expected wins, I think we should be 10 games above them. So obviously the Rays are always pesky, though. They'll probably make the playoffs, the wild card at least, but I do think we're going to end up winning the division at the end of the day. Team I fear, though, I mean, honestly, the Guardians have been playing pretty good ball. They have Jose Ramirez. Their pitching staff is really good. But we always play solid against the AL Central in the playoffs. So not too worried about them. And then if you go to the West, I mean, the Mariners are turning it on. They were scary last playoffs. So we'll see. If Cal Raleigh kind of turns it on more, they could be a team you fear. And we'll see. We'll see also. Who knows? We'll see with the Blue Jays, too. Maybe the AL just start a week this year and they'll have a strong second half. You never really know. But at this point right now, I'm not too worried about any team. I mean, it looks like kind of like the NBA. It looks like the West or the NL. The West in the NBA is the NL of the West this year.
Yeah. There's a lot of obviously good teams out in the NL, but in the AL too, I feel like it's a little bit underrated, just like the Eastern Conference was. And I think it's because everyone looks at the Dodgers and the bigger teams, right? Teams that spend a lot. Dodgers get a lot of hype, which for valid reasons. I do like the Dodgers, as you know. But the Yankees obviously are very good. The Rays have been very good this year. The Guardians, I know, have faltered a little bit as of late, but they've been pretty good. And we'll see. I do think upgrading a catcher could be big for the Yankees. I just looked at the Royals record, which I know at one point over the last couple weeks they started winning some games, but they've lost 3 in a row now. They're at 28-42, the Royals. So maybe they do look to move Salvador Perez. I know he's old. It'd only be a short-term fix, but
he'd be an upgrade for sure for this year. I wouldn't hate him. He's a great defender, great leader in the clubhouse, and he's won, exactly, against the Mets in 2015.
He did. And what are your thoughts on the Mets? I was going to transition to talk about the Giants, but get your take on the Mets. They've been really struggling, especially over the last couple months, right? Like in the first month of the season, they were bad. Then they had like a little bit of stretch that they won some games, and then kind of the last month again been bad. What are your thoughts on the New York Mets?
Hey man, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm pretty happy that they stink. I'm not going to lie. Juan Soto can go hang out over there in Queens. It's fine. He took his $750 million from Queens. All good with me. Yeah, I mean, in all seriousness, I thought they'd be much better than they are. But I think Mets fans are just having a tough time right now because they lost. They are not playing well this year, and they lost all their kind of fan favorite guys. They lost Pete Alonso, Brandon Nimmo, Jeff McNeil, Edwin Diaz. Like all their guys that all the fans loved are gone, and obviously Bo Bichette and Marcus Semien clearly are not the answer for them. So it's a tough season for Mets fans. I do feel a little bad for them.
I get it, yeah. And it's a long year. Like I had faith in them turning things around, but when you're sitting, where we're at right now, and we are, let me see where the Mets are at record-wise here, 31-38, which they have won 2 in a row.
Better, yeah.
Playing better ball, but they've had some bad stretches, like losing in the month of April, getting swept by the Athletics, then the Dodgers, then the Cubs. They had 3 straight sweeps at one point, which was tough. And I think even Colorado ended up sweeping them as well at one point in the end of April. So it's been tough for them. They have put it together a little bit. They're 31-38. The Red Sox currently set at a worse record with 27 and I believe 40. I will confirm that though now. The Red Sox 28-39. It's just been tough, though, for the Mets. They have a lot of talent on that roster. They just haven't really put it all together yet. We'll see, obviously, what the future holds for them. And I'm wishing them well. I visited Citi Field earlier this year. Beautiful ballpark. The fans there were lit. It was a great environment being there. I'm wishing them well. They do have some players I like, too. I like Francisco Lindor. He's been hurt, obviously, this year. Soto had his injury issue as well earlier in the season. So we'll see. It's early in the year, but it's also at that time of year, too. You really need to figure it out if you're going to figure it out. So we'll see. And now that'll lead me to transition to talk about the New York Giants, which they've obviously had an interesting offseason. You trade Dexter Lawrence, you get the 10th overall pick, you hire John Harbaugh, and now he's your head coach. You signed Odell Beckham Jr., now he's back in New York, a team that he last played for back in 2018, was traded at one point in 2019 to the Cleveland Browns. What are your thoughts on the Giants offseason, and what are your expectations heading into next year?
I'm very excited about John Harbaugh. I think he'll be a really good addition for the Giants. I think you have the potential this year to make the playoffs or at least play kind of important games past October, which I know me and you, being Giants fans, have not seen in a while. So it'd be nice to be competitive. We were competitive last year, don't get me wrong. We were in a lot of close games we should have lost. I think up by double digits in 5 games that we ended up losing or something like that last year. So I think he'll be a really good addition. I think there's just a little turmoil with the team this year, and unfortunate with some of the political things. I think hopefully they've gotten that under wraps now, but you just don't want to see kind of guys going to social media and things like that, talking about other guys. Whatever your political views are, I don't really care about that stuff, but kind of just want to see the team come together, which we've seen from the Knicks team, which I hope for the Giants. I actually do think maybe this New York Knicks kind of run, we've seen a bunch of Giants, whether it be Jameis Winston, Jackson Dart, Scattaboo, Brian Burns. They've been at a bunch of the games. I think it's bringing the city kind of together and giving the Giants maybe some kind of momentum, like, oh, shoot, if this team can do this, like, we've kind of been in a similar boat where we haven't been that great the past 10, 12 years. Maybe we can do something like that, too, for the city. So I think maybe that is motivating them. I think they do have really good pieces. I know he probably won't be the biggest difference maker. I am excited to see Odell back in that blue jersey. I saw him working out number 3 though. I hope Jay Nye gives him 13, but we'll see if he gets it back. But it should be fun with having him back on the team. Hopefully Malik Neighbors. I'm just a little worried considering we got Berrios and Juju Smith-Schuster. That means Malik Neighbors is a little bit slower progression than when we thought, which would not be good because we need him on the field. So we'll see what happens. I do think Jackson Dart will be really good long term. I'm excited to see him work with Harbaugh this year, and I think hopefully I'll predict a 10-7 season. I'll be a little optimistic.
I like that. 10-7 would be beautiful considering it's been tough. The Giants have been out of the playoff mix, it seems like, every year by Halloween. And if you're 10-7, obviously we're right there, and you're probably a playoff team, at least a wild card at the very least. Especially with considering the division did take a step back somewhat, right? Like Dallas and Washington, they're beatable teams, and even Eagles.
Even the Eagles have a lot of turmoil going on with them, so they have a lot of drama. And A.J. Brown's gone now, so.
Yeah, it's one less guy we got to now cover, which you made a great point, obviously. The Giants have had distractions in the offseason. Dexter Lawrence wanted out, and that was a headline for a month or so. He was obviously not happy in New York. He wanted a way out, and that was a distraction somewhat. Then obviously, like you already mentioned, Abdul Carter, Jackson Dart had their issues, and that's something that the head coach, John Harbaugh, all of those things I just mentioned, they need to keep that in check. Everybody in the locker room's got to be on the same page and come together as one, which we've seen the Knicks do that. Everyone's come together as one. It's kind of united the whole city, like you said. Like I mentioned, Keith McPherson yesterday on my podcast, grew up a Nets fan. He's rooting for the Knicks to win because New York sports have been wishing and praying for a championship for so long. We just want competitive ball.
Since 2012, the Giants, last championship out of New York with all those teams. So.
And so many chances, right? The Mets have made the World Series. We've seen the Yankees make the World Series since then. We've seen the Knicks this year make the NBA Finals, Eastern Conference Finals last year. You've seen the Rangers make the Stanley Cup Final. They're just starting to put it all together, the Knicks, all at once, kind of at the perfect time, because New York sports, the Mets have been struggling. The Yankees are playing really good ball, but obviously at the end of the day, there's a lot of baseball left. Who knows what the future holds? But the Knicks winning an NBA Finals, though, it feels like the perfect time considering it's been 14 years since a championship happened here in New York, and I think at the end of the day, you could see the passion that the Knicks fans have. They've wanted this for a long time.
The cool thing I think is you have the kind of rivalries like Yankees, Mets, Jets, Giants. I don't really think that exists in basketball as much. Yeah. There's not as many Nets fans. It's more people from New Jersey that will root for the Nets that I've seen. So I'm kind of seeing you're seeing more uniting for the Knicks than you do with the other sports teams in New York, which is pretty cool. Everyone's kind of coming together to root for them.
Mm-hmm. And hopefully they were able to close the deal in the next game or so. Maybe tonight could be the chance, clinching game. I want to ask you one more question about the Giants. Obviously they had the 5th overall pick, the 10th overall pick in this year's draft. They took Arvel Reese out of Ohio State at 5. With that 10th overall pick, they got in the trade with the Cincinnati Bengals for Dexter Lawrence. They got Mauigoa, an offensive lineman out of Miami. What are your thoughts about the Giants draft and how they approached it?
I was honestly very happy with that Dexter Lawrence trade. I think he was a little disgruntled and kind of wanted out, and to get a first-round pick, 10th overall pick for a guy that doesn't really want to be there is really good. Probably better than most teams would do in that case, so I was happy we got that other first-round pick. I'm happy. I think we needed a guy. Arvel Reese, I think, will be really good. We have a lot of pass rushers now, which I don't think is a bad thing. You can't really have too many of those rushing the quarterback, so I was happy about that. With that second pick, I did really want Caleb Downs. I think he's a stud out of Ohio State, and I know you need someone to protect Jackson Dart, and we'll see what happens, but I just really hope that Caleb Downs doesn't become the same kind of thing as like that Micah Parsons situation where we passed on Micah Parsons and then he dominated us for years with the Cowboys. Could potentially be the same exact thing with Caleb Downs not going to Dallas. So I'm just a little nervous about that. But overall, I think they are solid pieces that the Giants got.
Yeah, and I think you said it best. The value for the 10th overall pick is so high, and you're getting him for a defensive tackle who didn't play great last year. I know he had his injuries, and the Giants were down in a lot of games, so you're not going to really get as many chances to probably rush the passer. And I know he's a run-stopping D-tackle, and even our run game wasn't great last year. We've been one of the worst run defenses in the NFL over the last couple of years, so I thought it made sense to move him, especially since he wanted out. I was really pleased with the trade. And then, like you mentioned, they are needs, grabbing another linebacker, which Arvel Reese is a very good tackler. The Giants could use that. And then you're also adding in an offensive lineman in Mauigoa, which you can never have too many pass rushes. You can never have too much help on the offensive line. You can never have too many pitches in the game of baseball. Like, those are things, that are a premium. For example, you look at that Yankees rotation. They have so many pitchers. You go in a playoff series, you feel pretty good. But you look at some other teams, they might not have that same situation.
You're seeing that in the College Baseball World Series right now. Teams that don't have that depth are losing. So those guys that have those guys deep in, when you're playing every day, 2 games a day, you need that bullpen help. You need a bunch of pitchers. So, yeah, sorry, back to baseball. But
No, I love what you're talking about there. It's a great point, though. You like you said, college baseball, it's a tough tournament to win because usually the bigger teams have better pitching and more depth, and that's usually what it comes down to at the end of the day, especially when you're playing in a tournament where it's a legitimate series, best of 3. You got to have at least 2 good starters, maybe even 3, if you have to clinch into game 3. So great point there. And I want to ask you one last question before we close, and this is just in general. It could be a New York player, it could be any athlete from any city. It doesn't have to be New York, but obviously you talk about Jalen Brunson. He's a guy you're a big fan of. Eli Manning, I know you're a big fan of. Derek Jeter, you're a big fan of. If you had to give your Mount Rushmore, which I asked a lot of people this in the past, and it's usually Boston sports, but I would love to get your take here on New York sports, your Mount Rushmore of New York athletes. And you could take it any way you'd like here. You could take it as the 4 best New York athletes ever, your favorite 4 ever. You could take it any way you'd like. For me, the other night, I did a Boston one on an episode with 2 of my friends, James and Aiden Daly, and my 4 was Paul Pierce. I had Paul Pierce, Patrice Bergeron, David Ortiz, and who was my 4th one? I'm trying to remember here. I feel like my 4 changes by the day, which doesn't make it easy. Definitely didn't have another Patriot in there. I didn't have a Patriot in there at all because I didn't grow up a Patriots fan, but Tom Brady, I know most people would have. I had Mookie Betts. He was my 4th.
Okay. I like it.
Who would be your 4 for New York? It's fine if you want to go as the 4 best ever, whether you saw them play or not, or your 4 favorite.
Okay. I'll probably go like for best / my favorite in my lifetime. I guess. So Derek Jeter's on there. He was my favorite player growing up. Just loved the way he played the game. was never kind of full of himself, always cared about the team first, and won 5 championships. So gotta go with him there. Eli Manning's got to be on there for me. It was pretty cool watching them hang out at the Knicks game the other night. They were sitting next to each other. Two kind of the old kings of New York. So Eli obviously beat Tom Brady twice in the Super Bowl. Brought me a bunch of joy when I was a kid. So Eli's definitely on there too. And then 2 more. Honestly, might have to put Brunson on there now, just because how he brought the Knicks back. So I would say him. And then my fourth one might be kind of crazy, but it's my favorite first baseman, Mark Teixeira, is on there too. Won a ring. My dad caught his home run ball at Yankee Stadium. So, and he's one of the best switch hitters kind of the 21st century. So, obviously not the best, one of the best Yankees ever, but in my lifetime, he was my favorite player. So, I'll go with Mark Teixeira.
That's valid, and obviously had a good time, as a Yankee. Had success, and he's part of, you've said, and I would agree with you, the best infield maybe ever. Teixeira, Cano, Jeter, and A-Rod.
Yep.
Special 4 there. And one guy you forgot, which I knew you weren't going to have him on there, our guy Chase Headley. What a legend he is.
Oh, yeah.
Can't forget Chase.
That walk-off hit in his first game as a Yankee, can never forget it. My guy, Chase Headley.
The legend. But that's a special 4 there. Obviously, a lot of guys have had success in New York. You mentioned Eli Manning, a guy you've met before. Derek Jeter had his fair share of winning as a Yankee. You got Jalen Brunson right now, cementing himself in New York Knicks history here.
If you from an outside non-biased, would you say Jalen Brunson or Aaron Judge is the king of New York?
Wow, that's really tough. Judge has been an MVP and 2 years in a row, but 3 overall, but 2 in a row he has.
He hasn't won, though.
He does not have a ring. It would be tough, though, because I'm just looking at dominance-wise. Like, Judge is the best player in baseball besides Ohtani, and Brunson I wouldn't say is the number 2 or number 1 player in the game of basketball. Not being disrespectful, it's just...
No, that's fair.
But he's obviously a playoff riser, and he's going to probably win the NBA Finals this year. So
maybe we come back to this question after tonight.
Yeah, we can come back to it. I think that'll change things. But I think, honestly, right now, the way the Knicks have kind of rallied the entire city of New York, whether you're a basketball fan or not, and that's just not if you're a New York basketball fan. Like, I have friends of mine that don't really care about basketball that have talked to me about basketball over the last few weeks. My brother Michael the other night was talking about the NBA Finals, and I'm like, he doesn't care about the game of basketball at all. Like, the Knicks have really rallied not just the city of New York, whether the people in New York are basketball fans or not, which I know most of the city is, but you have people there that live there don't care about basketball, but now they're paying attention to it because of this Knicks team. I would say the influence Jalen Brunson has had in leading this Knicks team and all of the buzz around them, I would say right now, genuinely, he probably is the king of New York because of how much hype's around him. And like you already noted as well, Judge hasn't gotten it done yet. And I know Brunson still has to finish the deal here, but I do get what you mean. I do look at it as Judge has been the best player in the American League for 2 seasons in a row.
Ohtani in the MLB. But yeah, if Judge gets a ring this year, maybe I'll switch him and Mark Teixeira on my Mount Rushmore.
That's valid. And we'll see. And I'd love to have you back on again because there was one thing I talked about over text with you. I'd love to do an all-time Yankees lineup with you, which I did that with a friend of mine for the Red Sox. The Yankees have had so many all-time greats, not just in the last 20 years. If you look at the Yankees 80, 100 years ago, they've had so many great players over the last century that it would be a really special, I think, segment on a podcast episode with you.
That'd be a blast. I'd love to come back.
Yeah, and it's always a pleasure talking with you, Christian. Thank you so much for your time today, all of your exceptional insight into the Knicks, the Yankees, the Giants, obviously talking baseball in general. We could talk any sport, and that's a special part of having you on today. So thank you so much for your time. Truly an honor to speak with you, and looking forward to having you on again soon. Wishing you a great weekend, a great rest of the day. It's a beautiful day here in Boston, and wishing the Knicks all the best tonight in Game 5.
Thank you, Joey. I appreciate you having me on. Best of luck with the podcast in the future, too.
Much appreciated. Thank you. For everyone that tuned in, thank you so much. Much appreciated, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you.